But these are tiny amounts of money.
American interest in it.
Look, they spent billions on day one of the war.
Okay, now you're cutting me off, Piers.
These are tiny amounts of money you're talking about.
You're making up crap.
Tiny amounts of money.
Yeah.
Piers, are you mental?
Do you know how much got spent? Do you know how much got spent on day one of the war?
$337 million that the Adelsons have given to Donald Trump because he is corrupt and easily purchasable. The Adelsons are corrupt and Israelis. The Israeli Adelsons gave Jonathan Pollard a trip on their private jet back to Israel and celebrated him like a hero because they love people betraying America for Israel.
Welcome back to The Honest Perspective. Right now, the United States is deeply entrenched in a catastrophic military conflict with Iran, a war that virtually every sensible analyst warned would trigger a massive economic disaster. The Strait of Hormuz is completely blocked, gas prices are skyrocketing, and instead of a serious debate about how we got here, mainstream media is giving us a masterclass in elite protection. What you are about to see is one of the most telling moments in cable news history. Cenk Uygur goes on Piers Morgan Uncensored and lays out the exact financial receipts tying American foreign policy directly to massive political megadonors. But instead of addressing the systemic corruption, Piers Morgan actually tries to claim that hundreds of millions of dollars in billionaire campaign cash are tiny amounts of money. You cannot make this up. If you want a channel that cuts through the corporate spin and tracks the real receipts, hit that subscribe button right now. I'm Neel. This is The Honest Perspective. Mainstream media will defend billionaire corruption even as the global economy burns. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So let's start with the stupidity and work our way to lies. So first off, Donald Trump says Joe Kent, he's not very smart and he's very weak on security. Then why did you make him the National Counterterrorism Director? I mean, it doesn't get any dumber than that, if you believe him. Number two, then he says, oh, NATO, a couple of days ago, we all saw it with our own eyes. Oh, you got to help us. This is more your war than our war. This is more your interest than our interest. Please, please help. And now he says, oh, we didn't need their help anyway. Yeah, after they said no. I mean, it's pathetic, and it's obvious, and it's silly. So then you go to what you were just mentioning. So, oh my God, no one could have predicted they would attack our bases in the Gulf countries. I predicted it. Every rational person predicted it. Well, what did you think they were going to do? That they were going to get attacked and they weren't going to counterattack? I mean, are the people running our government that preposterously stupid? Of course they're going to attack our bases. The reason why that talking point even exists is because we spent all of our time, resources, and defensive missiles on protecting Israel, and we left our own bases and our own soldiers vulnerable. So that's why they put out that incredibly dumb talking point. And then in terms of the Strait of Hormuz, okay, hold on. I let you talk for like an hour. So now in Strait of Hormuz, they say, well, I mean, nobody could, you're right. Trump literally said nobody could have seen it coming when everyone could have seen it coming. But number two, let's say that he's just lying about that and not a moron, right? Well, what difference does it make? If you saw it coming, you apparently did not adjust well enough and you got clowned by Iran. So the Strait of Hormuz is blocked. So look at all this propaganda, but the propaganda doesn't actually change the facts on the ground. Is the Strait of Hormuz blocked or not? It is blocked. Who effectively blocked it? Iran did. Who can't open it up? Dumbass Donald Trump. Because this war never made any sense. We all knew the Strait of Hormuz was going to get blocked. We all knew the oil prices were going to go high. And in fact, today, Israel exasperated it by bombing their gas fields, which we told them not to do. It's going to drive the gas prices through the roof. Now Iran is going to counter by attacking the Gulf countries' oil fields. That's going to double the disaster. And why won't Israel ever listen to us? And then that gets us to the lies. I mean, look at all these. So Ben Shapiro said about this show that it's a circus or Jerry Springer or whatever. No, the real circus is cable news and mainstream media. I mean, look at these preposterous lies. Lindsey Graham, they were going to get nukes in a couple of weeks. That is a brazen lie. That is not anywhere near true. They just regurgitate things that are lies on Fox News 24/7. It's an assembly line of lies to scare the boomers watching television. Oh, they were going to nuke you. Preposterous. No one in their right mind believes that. Then you go to Ben Shapiro, and he says, oh, the idea that politicians would be affected by a lobby. Of course they're affected by lobbies. Big Pharma controls our government so thoroughly we can't even negotiate drug prices. We're allowed to say that. We're allowed to say the big oil controls us so much that we give them billions in subsidies, which makes no sense at all. But when it comes to the Israeli lobby, that's when all of Washington en masse, especially television, pretends that it somehow magically has no power. That's absurd. They were the #1 donors in this election cycle. They gave over $100 million, and they've given to 94% of Congress, and they've given over $300 million to Donald Trump. Obviously, they control Trump. Obviously, they control Biden. Obviously, they control Congress. This should not be a taboo topic. It is patently absurd to say that the Israeli
you're
lobby
saying that Israel
is the one
worse
lobby.
than
Hold
Iran
on.
and the Ayatollah.
Hold on. I'm almost done. It's patently absurd to say that the Israeli lobby is the one lobby that is not effective, that has no effect at all, even though they're the #1 donors to our politicians. Absurd.
Okay.
And it's done all to protect
Cenk,
Israel.
you've now had...
Notice the exact mechanism of the media playbook happening right there. Cenk points out a glaring structural reality. In Washington, everyone openly admits that Big Pharma and Big Oil buy off politicians to dictate domestic policy. It's considered standard political analysis. But the second you apply that exact same logic to foreign policy lobbies, specifically the massive financial backing of the pro-Israel lobby, mainstream media hosts act like you've suddenly entered the realm of unhinged conspiracy theories. They treat one specific group of political megadonors as if they operate entirely on pure altruism, magically immune to the transactional rules of American capitalism. But as Cenk rightly points out, the numbers are right there in the open. And as this debate escalates, watch how the media's defense of elite money shifts from denial to outright absurdity.
Okay, so look, guys, we're ignoring the 800-pound gorilla in the room. For example, if somebody was to come in here and they were going to listen to this discussion or debate, but we told them ahead of time, hey, these guys are all clean and honest, then they'd listen to it and try to figure out what's happening. If we told them ahead of time, someone gave them $100 million to all say the same thing, we'd go, well, then we're a little bit more skeptical, to say the least. So that is what's happening with our politicians. Israel has given Congress $100 million. They've given Donald Trump $337 million. So this is all a fake conversation.
But these are tiny amounts
of money. We have no American interest in it.
They spent billions on day one
now
of the
you're
war.
cutting me off, Piers.
These are tiny amounts of money you're talking about.
You're making up crap.
Tiny amounts of money.
Yeah.
Piers, are you mental?
Do you know how much got spent? Do you know how much got spent on day one of the war?
$337 million that the Adelsons have given to Donald Trump because he
Piers,
is corrupt and
now.
easily purchasable. The Adelsons are corrupt and Israelis. The Israeli Adelsons gave Jonathan Pollard a trip on their private jet back to Israel and celebrated him like a hero because they love people betraying America for Israel.
But you don't think,
I can prove it. So tell me if we should put American troops or Israeli troops in. Okay, why are we putting our guys in? Ben Ferguson, that traitor, said that it was no big deal that 13 Americans died. It's a huge deal.
Never said that.
13 Americans died. Why do you send your goddamn Israeli friends into a war?
Take the blood pressure meds, bro.
They started it.
Never said by me. Never said by me.
You know what?
So much shit.
Cenk,
I'm never going to let anyone else on this program talk because the minute I start talking, they start interrupting and go, oh, Israel's the greatest. Israel's the greatest.
Okay.
They bribed all of our politicians.
Today.
It is exceedingly clear.
Okay.
So stop working for Israel, you corrupt sons of bitches.
Okay.
Work for America. Here's your solution. And it's super simple. We get the fuck out of there.
Okay.
We have zero interest in there. None. So let Israel.
And now you know why Trump had to do what he had to do. He's got to deal with people like
put in
this.
the ground troops. Ben Ferguson, answer this question. Should we be sending Israeli ground troops or American ground troops?
I think there's no major ground troop movements because the president's made it clear we're not invading the country. If you listen to what he said, you would already know that, not have to ask that question.
If we put in ground troops, now that's another lie. He'll come back and say, oh, I always said we were going to put in ground troops.
You know what? Okay, look, I'm going to call an end to this. Cenk,
American or Israeli?
The truth is...
American or Israeli?
All right, Cenk,
which ground troops?
Cenk, calm down. The truth is the American military has sent several thousand Marines into the area. They'll take a few more days to get there. And as we know, when there was a massive build-up before the war started, there must be a high likelihood they may get deployed. Otherwise, why would you send them? And it may be that Trump calculates that to get to, say, the enriched uranium, he may have to use some ground forces. I hope it doesn't come to that. I think it would be a disaster, but we shall see.
So why not Israeli ground forces?
But we shall see. Think about
why not Israeli ground forces?
Yeah, and Israeli ground
Why
forces.
is that not even being discussed in Washington?
Well, you just mentioned
Why
it.
are we so subservient to Israel that we don't even have a national discussion about should
really
it be
are
our
obsessed
troops
with Israel.
or should it be
It's kinda
Israel's
scary.
troops?
Cenk, sometimes.
Oh, so you're saying send in Americans,
No,
right?
but Cenk, sometimes
you gotta be-
guys like Ben
Cenk,
Ferguson,
sometimes-
Ben
how much
Shapiro,
you hate Israel.
and Mark
Sometimes,
Levin all
Cenk.
want to send in Americans to die because they think Israelis are superior to us, and they think the Israeli lives are so important.
Anti-Semitism
72% of Israelis
101.
wanted this
Time
war.
out here.
Only 21% of Americans wanted this war.
Okay.
We don't want this
All
war.
right,
The
Cenk.
only people who want this war are the Israelis. They should fight their own goddamn wars
You've made
and
your
stop
point.
having Americans killed on behalf of stupid, irrelevant,
Anti-Semitism
disgusting
101, folks.
Israel.
Cenk, for the sake of your spleen, if nothing else, I'm going to draw an end to this panel debate. But
I'm totally fine. I just
thank
love
you.
America.
Well,
I'm not like
sometimes
these
you should be able
traitors
to-
like Ben
We
Ferguson
can tell.
and Ted
Okay.
Cruz who
All right.
who
I'm
literally
gonna
said
leave it.
he's there to
I'm
serve
gonna leave it there.
Israel like a servile dog.
Okay.
Dog, bark for Israel, little doggy.
Okay, I'm going to leave
Serve
it there.
America. No more Americans dead.
Just for the record,
Send in
Ben
Israeli
Ferguson has an
ground
America
troops.
First panel,
Start a
badge
national
on his
discussion.
jacket.
Make
All right.
every politician answer why we should die instead of the
Okay.
Israelis.
Thank you very much.
Tiny amounts of money. That is how Piers Morgan characterizes $337 million flowing from a single billionaire family into the pockets of a political candidate. Let that sink in. To the average working person watching their local gas station prices double because of this war, a few $100s is the difference between making rent or getting evicted. But to the elite media class, hundreds of millions of dollars is just pocket change. A tiny amount, not even worth factoring into why our government chooses to embroil American troops in endless foreign interventions. This is where we have to look past the shouting match and examine the raw, independent verification of what Cenk is talking about. When he cites those numbers, he is tapping into a deeply corrupt, legalized bribery system that dictates modern American governance. The transactional nature of this relationship is entirely undeniable. But it isn't just Trump, and it isn't just one party. The broader pattern analysis reveals a bipartisan consensus bought and paid for by elite donors. When Cenk says they have given to 94% of Congress, he is describing a system where political survival is directly tied to satisfying elite donors rather than representing the American electorate. The corporate media wants you to believe that foreign policy decisions are made out of high-minded ideals about democracy, exceptionalism, and national defense. They don't want you to look at the ledger. They don't want you to realize that while working-class Americans pay the ultimate price, both at the pump and with their lives on the battlefield, a small circle of defense contractors, fossil fuel conglomerates, and billionaire megadonors are reaping the rewards. Piers Morgan trying to minimize hundreds of millions of dollars as an insignificant sum isn't an accident. It is a deliberate effort to protect a status quo where the rich buy policies and the public pays the bill. We have to keep tracking the receipts, and we have to hold both parties accountable when they prioritize billionaire profits over human lives. If you believe that money should be stripped out of politics and that the American people deserve truth over corporate access, subscribe to The Honest Perspective. I'm Neel. Stop fighting billionaire wars with working class lives. That's The Honest Perspective, and that's where I'll leave you.